All right. Hey, guys. My name is Michelle, and I'm here to talk to you guys about Mythbusting Whale Edition. So we're going to give you a couple minutes. I'm going to set myself up here so I can see your comments. And I just want to give you a quick intro. We're going to wait for some more people to join in. Now, the thing I want you to know about today is that today is very interactive. So I'm going to ask you guys to participate as much as you can in the comments. And it doesn't matter if you're right or you're wrong. We're all just here to learn and to play together. And so we're really excited to have you here. Now, again, my name is Michelle. I work here at Whale and Dolphin Conservation in North America. Whale and Dolphin Conservation does exactly what our name says, is that we conserve whales and dolphins. We have 5 offices around the world, and our North American headquarters is right here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is America's hometown. So today we're going to do something a little different in that we're going to play a game. So I think everybody can use a little lighthearted learning right now. So we're going to learn about whales, but we're going to do it in a fun way. So the first thing I want to do is warm everybody up, get everybody going in those comments. So if you guys can comment and say where you're tuning in from and the last thing that you ate. So I am tuning in from Plymouth, Massachusetts. And the last thing that I ate was some leftovers from yesterday. It was some roasted vegetables and some chicken meatballs, which sounds really healthy, but just balanced out my previous dinner of just garlic bread the night before. So if you guys want to comment in on what you guys are up to. Now we are in a little bit of a delay, so I think that I'm about 15 seconds ahead of you, so I'll try to be patient if you guys can be patient with me as well. So we have Julie from Framingham, Massachusetts. Welcome, Julie. Glad to have you playing. And banana and peanut butter. Such a good combination. Have you made banana bread yet? Because I definitely have. So if you guys want to keep going in, some people from Pennsylvania. Creme brulee pie. That sounds fancy. I don't know what it is, but it sounds really fancy. So you guys can start going in there. I'm going to start laying down what we're going to do today. So Mythbusters is an awesome TV show. What a great thing to binge during quarantine if you can. And Mythbusters is a show that combines 2 of my favorite things in that it combines, first of all, storytelling. That's basically what myths are. They're stories that got passed down over and over. Some things got embellished, some things got left out. Sometimes it's different depending on whoever is telling it. It changes with each and every storyteller. So myths are something that are really cool to look at. And it also, this combines science. So in Mythbusters, the 2 hosts and a couple of their assistants will go and look at myths and see how they can scientifically make it possible. So they use a lot of different things that we also use when we're being scientists with whales in order to figure out the answers to their questions. So Mythbusters is a really awesome show. I encourage you to watch it. If you haven't, you can learn a lot of different things, and we're going to do our own version of it today. So first, we're going to go through the different terminology we're going to use. So we could play true or false, and I guess we could do that. That's not fun. That doesn't make us Mythbusters. So we're going to use the terms that they use. So confirmed is just their term for true. So if a myth is confirmed, it means that it's true. They also have busted. Busted means that it's false. So we're going to use these 2 terms in order to go through all of our myths, but essentially they mean true or false. So when you're commenting, feel free to put true or false or confirmed or busted, whatever you're most comfortable with. Also, as we go through, if you have any questions about anything, just make sure to put them in the comments. I have some of my awesome WDC colleagues, and they're going to help me out and look through all of the different questions, answer any ones that they can, or show any ones that we should answer at the end. So let's do a warm-up round. So the first one is that WDC stands for Whale and Dog Conservation. So I'm going to give you about 15 seconds. Let me know if you think it's true. Is it false? Is it confirmed? Is it busted? Do you like dogs? Anything you want to put in, start putting them in the comments. And then we'll kind of work our way through it. We'll investigate. So it looks like Julie thinks it's busted. Gary thinks it's busted too. So we can go through and see how we can investigate this. So it's all right on our page, actually. So if we look in the corner, you'll see our logo here, and it says WDC, and it says what it stands for. So it stands for Whale and Dolphin Conservation. Now, we often get joked because we have a lot of dogs that come into our office. We're big dog lovers here, and it's a big part of who our office is and why it's so fun to work here. But it's not technically our name. However, we do love dogs. We kind of wish it was, but we love dolphins too. So we can investigate by just looking at the things on our screen and figuring out what WDC would stand for. So this one is officially busted. So now we're getting into the real ones. So this is our first myth, that whales can breathe underwater. So I'm going to give you about 15 seconds. Put it in the comments. Do you guys think that it's true, it's false, it's confirmed, it's busted? You're not sure? It's also completely okay to say that you actually have no idea. That's how we learn things. So someone says it's busted. And so it is really hard to know the answers to these questions. They're things that sometimes we just don't really think about them. A lot of people coming in saying busted, so let's investigate. So if we think about Mythbusters, what they do is oftentimes they try to see what the story says and see what the results are. They also oftentimes work backwards and they see what the results are, and then they work to see what it takes to get there. So we're going to work backwards on this one. So if we think about breathing underwater, we can think about animals who do breathe underwater. So one that I know of is a shark. So sharks can breathe underwater. They don't have to come up to the surface in order to breathe. And so how do they do that? Well, sharks have a structure called gills. We see them in a lot of different kinds of sharks and fish, and it means that they can breathe underwater and they don't ever have to come up to the surface. In fact, if they're out of water, then they can't breathe at all. So we can see if whales have this structure, then hopefully then they can breathe underwater. So if we look at our friend, the humpback whale here, we can look in that same area, but we don't see any gills. We don't see those same slits. So it's starting to lead us to believe that whales can't breathe underwater. But we can also use some of our other resources. So if you go back to March 31st, which seems like so incredibly long ago, you can see my friend Sabrina there. She did a whole presentation called Did You Know Whales and Dolphins Are Mammals? So in this, she talked about how whales are mammals and told us all about them. So we can use some of the things that she said in that to help solve our problem. So in that, she listed 5 things that all mammals have in common. Now keep in mind that you and I are also mammals. So these are things that we have in common with whales. We know they're mammals because Sabrina told us, and she's a reputable source. And so we can try to pick through them and see if they can help us answer our question. So the first thing that all mammals have in common is that they're warm-blooded. There are not good graphics for warm-blooded, so bear with me on this one. So warm-blooded means that your body has to stay at a certain temperature all the time. You have to produce your own heat, and you do that mostly by breaking down food. The alternative to that is cold-blooded. So animals like sharks are cold-blooded. They get their heat source from something else. So all mammals are warm-blooded, and they all have hair. Now, they all have hair at some point in their life. Now, whales and dolphins aren't super fuzzy. Some of our whales do have these little whisker things that they have all their lives. Sometimes they have hair before they're born or just after they're born and they lose it from there. But all mammals at some point have some kind of hair. Another thing all mammals have in common is that they give birth to live young. Now, live young just means that the mom is pregnant and then she gives birth. And when she gives birth, the baby's alive and fully developed. The alternative to this is animals that lay eggs. They lay those eggs and then the eggs hatch. Whales don't lay eggs, neither do we. Now, when those babies are born, they first get fed milk from mammals. So we feed our babies milk. Whales also do the same thing. But the 5th thing that all mammals have in common is the key to our answer here. So if we look, we can see that this is a pair of lungs. All mammals breathe air just like we do. So just like us, whales have a pair of lungs that are inside their body and helps them breathe air. Now, how do they get that air in? Well, the answer is on the tops of their heads. So these are pictures of nostrils. We call them blowholes on whales. And these nostrils are just like ours. So blowholes and nostrils, same thing. And it helps them breathe in air. So just like ours, our air goes in our nostrils and into our lungs, the same thing for these whales. So if they have the same structure that we do, can you breathe underwater? Probably not. If we get water inside of our lungs, it creates a huge problem for us. That's how people drown, and it makes it so that our lungs don't work if there's water inside. In fact, if you get water down the wrong pipe and it goes into your lungs, you oftentimes cough to try to get it up. So if we go to our question here, that whales can breathe underwater, we can see that it is officially busted. They cannot breathe underwater. In fact, whales have to come up for every single breath that they take. So it's a good thing when you're whale watching, you know a whale has to come back up to the surface. Doesn't mean though that they have to come up as often as we would. Whales can hold their breath for long periods of time, and they can dive down really deep to get their food. So they oftentimes have to be down there for much longer. Some whales are also fast, so they can travel long distances. So even if it seems like a whale's down for a long time, it might have just given you the slip and it might be further away and you just didn't see it. But whales do have to come up to the surface in order to breathe. All right, myth number 2. Blubber is used to keep whales warm. So what do you guys think? So in the comments, answer either confirmed or busted. You can answer true or false, whatever you feel most comfortable with. So in the meantime, we had Emily, and she asked, how long can they hold their breath for? Depends on the different whales. For a lot of whales, holding their breath for a long period of time adds stress because it's just putting stress on their bodies. So unless they have to, they often don't. For the whales we have here off Massachusetts, we're pretty lucky. We get about 5-minute dives on average, but we do have ones that can dive for much longer. There are whales who dive really far deep that can hold their breath for basically about an hour. So a lot of people here are saying true or confirmed. So let's investigate. So the first thing we have to do is make sure we know what all of our words mean. So the one that looks unfamiliar to me here is the word blubber. So let's figure out what that means. So what is blubber? Well, let's look it up in the dictionary. So when I pulled it up, there are 3 different definitions. So now I have to pick out which one I think is relevant to our situation here. So the first one has this fancy word called zoology. Now I can guess that zoo might have something to do with animals. We have animals in zoos. I hear that a lot. And ology usually means some kind of science, like biology, oceanography. That was a bad example. But biology is the best one, and then it means this kind of science. So if we talk about animal science, then this might be my answer. So if we continue to read, and it says the fat layer between the skin and muscle of whales. So this looks more and more promising. So it looks like this could be my answer. So it's the fat layer between the skin and muscle of whales and other cetaceans from which oil is made. So this seems like a good contender. Now we look at the second one, it says excess body fat. Well, that's kind of a variation of the first one. It's just a little different. And then we look at the third one, and it's an act of weeping noisily and without restraint. Now, I've never seen a whale weep. Not saying they don't, but I don't think that's the definition that we're looking for. So I think we're going to stick with the first one. And it all means that blubber is fat. So it's the fat that's between their skin and their muscles, and it has a couple of different jobs. Now, I can think about fat in my own body. So what do I use fat for? So there's 3 reasons I've boiled it down to. There's lots of other functions for fat. You can read all about them, but it all comes down to about 3 basic things. So the first one is that fat helps us store energy. Now we don't think about this one a lot because we're pretty lucky in the fact that now we have grocery stores and all restaurants and all different ways to get food. But back when we used to have to hunt and gather, that wasn't always the case. Usually it was seasonal. Some seasons we had a lot of food and sometimes we didn't. And so if we ate whenever we had food, we could store extra energy as fat. When we moved on in culture, you can see that when you had more fat on you, that meant that you were wealthier because you had more food to eat. Nowadays, it's not really the case, but we do still use fat to store our energy. And we know our whales do this too. So the humpback whales that we have here off the coast of Massachusetts, they come here in the summertime where we have a lot of food for them, and they eat all summer long. And so when they eat, they of course can't use all the energy all at once, and so they start to store it in their fat or blubber. This helps them for when wintertime comes, they're going down to the Caribbean, and that's where they're going to mate and have their calves. But down there, there's not a lot of fish. And so what they do is they get really fat before they leave here. And then when they're down there and they're not really eating, they're just breaking that fat down throughout the whole time to give them energy. Now, the next one said it helps your brain work. There's a couple different things, but I chose to do it like this because it just shows that your body needs fat. Your brain is made mostly of fat. And so if you don't have enough in your diet, your brain can't do all the different functions. It can't repair itself. It can't make new connections. A lot of people who don't have enough fat in their diet get this foggy brain because their brain can't function. There's also certain vitamins that you can only absorb through fat. And so you have to have fat in order to get all your vitamins. Now, the last thing that fat does for us is it helps us regulate our body temperature. Now, again, we don't usually think about this because we have so many ways to change our temperature. We can turn air conditioning on, we can turn the heat on, we can put another layer on. Now, think of putting another layer on kind of like adding fat to your body just temporarily. So if you had a really thick layer of fat on you like a whale might, it's kind of like if you put a big blanket around you. Now, the blanket itself isn't creating heat. However, you're creating heat and the blanket keeps it inside. So it helps you to be able to control your body temperature. That means that it will help keep you warm. So we go back to our original question, and it says blubber is used to keep whales warm, and that myth is confirmed. But we've also learned in the process, blubber does a lot of other things besides just keep them warm. Like our humpbacks I was telling you about, they're actually their fattest when they're going to the warmest waters. So for them, blubber is used to store energy, not as much to keep them warm. There's other whales who go into colder water, and they need the blubber to stay warm. Okay, myth number 3. Whales spray water out of their blowholes. So take a look at this one. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys think that this is confirmed? Do you think that it's busted? Do you think it's true, false? Do you think there's parts of it that are true and parts of it that are false? That's also a tricky way to do it. So you can comment what you guys think, and then we'll investigate. So some people are saying that they think this one is busted. Now, this is one of our most common things that we hear, is that we go out on whale watches. We have interns who go out, and a lot of our staff go all the time. They'll see whales out there, and people talk to us about this all the time. But are they telling us the truth, or is it just a myth? So a lot of people are saying busted, but let's investigate. So this one, we're going to use a lot of what we've already learned today. So the first thing we have to do is talk about, make sure we know what a blowhole is. We talked about that already. You guys are experts. Blowholes are their nostrils that are sit on the tops of their heads, and that's what they breathe out of. Some whales have 1 and some have 2 blowholes. Depends on if they have teeth in their mouth or baleen. So if we think about what we use our nostrils for, we use them in order to breathe, to get air in and out. Now, this is oftentimes the cartoon you're going to see. You're going to see that there's a whale, there's this big spout of water coming out of their blowhole, and we do call these spouts. And this is what it looks like in real life. So we can see that there's a blowhole there, and we can see there's something coming out of it. So we know that part is true. But the question is, what is coming out of it? Is it water? So what do whales use their blowholes for? They use it in order to breathe. Now, when you breathe in and out, do you breathe out water? Well, we don't live in the ocean, so theirs could be different. And so this is what it looks like, but it does do the same thing that we do. So when we breathe out and it's cold outside, we see a very similar thing that we see when we see whales breathe out. And it's this cloud that's in front of your face. So this happens because the warm air from inside your body meets the colder air outside. It condenses and it forms this nice cloud in front of you. Now, the same thing happens for whales. When they come up to the surface, they're breathing out. Keep in mind, often they're holding the breath for a couple minutes at a time. Their bodies are very warm, and so it meets that colder air outside. Then it condenses and it forms a cloud. Now, are clouds made of water? Well, rain clouds do, but most of the time it's just made of condensed air. So if we go back to our original question that whales spray water out of their blowholes, this myth is busted. This is something that we're always teaching people on whale watch boats. It looks a lot like water. There are probably some water droplets in it, but for the most part, they're breathing out air just like we do. Okay, next one. The myth is that a whale can eat you. Now this one has a lot of moving parts for it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break it down. We're gonna break it down into two smaller myths. So the first one is that you can fit in the mouth of a whale. So let me know, do you think this is true or false? Write it in the comments. And I see somebody on there said from the last one that they have snot that comes out. That's true, there are some other things mixed in. For the most part, it's air. They do have some snot that comes out. They have things called snot bots, what are drones that will collect some of that, but it is mostly air that they're breathing out. Okay, can you fit in a whale's mouth? A lot of people are saying false, busted. So let's investigate. So this is my friend, the North Atlantic right whale. You guys heard about these ones from Regina last Thursday, and we're going to use these as our example. So these whales are very endangered. There's fewer than 400 left in the whole world, and they're pretty large. We have some that can get bigger than this. We're going to say on average, they're about 45 feet long. Now, if you look at their mouth makes up roughly a quarter of their body, not exactly, but about. So that would be about 11¼ feet. So can we fit in that? You can also see that their mouth is pretty tall. Now we can look and see what we might be able to fit in, but I'm going to tell you this one from personal experience. So this is me and our inflatable North Atlantic right whale. Her name is Delilah. And Delilah we bring around to different schools and events when those are allowed to happen. We'll bring her out again. And you can actually go inside. If you look all the way to the right of that picture, you'll see a doorway and people can go inside and look. But you can see just behind where I'm standing in this picture, there's this whole mouth line, and that's her lower jaw. So you can see her mouth is taller than I am. They have some baleen plates that are 6 feet long. And so technically, I think I could fit in a whale's mouth. It's definitely wide enough and it's definitely tall enough for me to fit in. In fact, when we bring people in, we can almost fit a whole class inside the mouth of a whale. Now, of course, in real life, there's things like a tongue and parts of their baleen that would stick inside, but definitely you could fit at least one person. So you can see those gray things are the jaw lines. You'll see my friend Monica in the front and a bunch of kids in front too as well. So we're gonna go back. So can you fit in the mouth of a whale? So this one is actually confirmed. You likely could fit in the mouth of a whale. Right whales aren't even the biggest kinds of whales, and so their mouths can be even bigger. Of course, there'd be a lot of other stuff in there as well, but you probably could. Now we're going to break this down again even further. The next part of this is a whale can swallow you. So not only do you have to fit in their mouth, but then they have to be able to swallow you in order to eat you. So what do you guys think? Can a whale swallow you? Do you think it's true, false, confirmed, busted? Oh, so there are some households that are at odds on this one. Some say true, some say false. So some people are saying sometimes, depends on the whale. There's lots of different answers coming in. Someone said they were eaten by a whale by accident. I don't know about that one. Some people saying true. Some others saying busted. So this one has the greatest variation of answers so far. So let's investigate. So the first thing to know is that for most whales, they're eating small food, and that means that their throats are very small. We say on average for a right whale or humpback, something around that size, their throats are about the size of a Frisbee, like the one here. So could they fit down the throat of a whale? For most people, the answer is no. They wouldn't be able to fit. Of course, if you're really small, a lot of people say, well, some whales have teeth, so they could chew you up and spit and swallow you. Except for whales' teeth aren't used to chew. They're just used to catch. And so they catch fish and they catch other animals and they swallow them whole. So their teeth aren't made for chewing or grinding up. They don't have molars like we do. So we can look at this and say, well, for most whales, no. But I did a lot of research on this last night and found that there is still some debate. So this is the wild card here. It's the sperm whale. So sperm whales are technically toothed whales. They have teeth on the bottom jaw. They again only use those to grab onto food. They don't use them to chew, but they do have a wider throat than other whales. Now, of course, there's the most myths around sperm whales because they were the whales that oftentimes got hunted. And they're in a lot of stories like Moby Dick, those ones are all sperm whales. So there's a lot of myths about people who used to hunt whales who then ended up getting eaten by a whale. And those ones, there's all different stories. There was one that even a guy lived inside a whale for 3 days, and then they cut open the whale and they found him in there. That one they busted. There's no way he'd have enough air. But just given the size, there are no reports of people getting eaten by a whale. But I don't really want to say for sure. So we're going to actually call this one unlikely. We can't say for sure you wouldn't physically fit inside, but the circumstances that would have to lead to you getting eaten by a specific sperm whale would want to eat you, and they're trying to eat other food that you would encounter, and that you wouldn't be able to put up a fight, or that it would be able to fit you down its throat. We're going to call this one unlikely. So when we come back to a whale can eat you, you can fit in its mouth. On a very, very rare circumstance, it maybe possibly could eat you, but chances are it's pretty unlikely. All right, another myth. Whale poop gives you oxygen to breathe. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is true, false, busted, confirmed? Let's see what you guys have to say. So some people, going back to the other one, they could bite you like sharks. Again, they can't chew you up though. Yes, Sue, it is a little unfair to group them together, but for most toothed whales, they're a lot smaller. So they're smaller than our baleen whales, and so their throats wouldn't be as big either. So that's why I group them together, but the sperm whale is kind of the outlier there. That's why they're the wild card. So a lot of people are saying false on this one. Some people saying confirmed. Some others saying false. So let's investigate. So whale poop is one of our absolute 100% favorite topics to talk about here in our North American office. Whale poop is endlessly fascinating, and it's something that's really important to us, whether you realize it or not. So it all comes down to these guys. These weird looking creatures are called phytoplankton. Now this is a really big phytoplankton. They're actually microscopic in real life. Now phytoplankton are plant-like animals, or organisms rather, that live at the surface of the ocean. And just like plants on land, they need a couple things to survive. They need to have water and sunlight, and they also need nutrients. So they live at the surface of the ocean. That gives them that sunlight, and then they can produce their food from there. Now phytoplankton have really important jobs in the ocean. They're really small little creatures, but they have a big job. So the first one is that when they take in carbon dioxide, they take in sunlight, they make that into oxygen. And of course, oxygen is important to us because it gives us oxygen to breathe. Now, the other important job they have is they help sustain fish so that we have enough to eat and help have a healthy ecosystem. And they also help us combat climate change. So these phytoplankton live about a day or two, and when they die, they oftentimes take carbon and they sink to the ocean floor with that carbon. That helps us fight climate change. So what do phytoplankton and whale poop have to do with one another? Well, like we said, they need sunlight, water, and nutrients in order to survive. So the thing that we're missing are nutrients, and that's where whales come in. So we have our whales here. They eat all throughout the water column, and then so these guys are eating at the surface, but they'll eat even at the bottom. But then they come up to breathe, like we talked about before, and at the surface is where they have to poop. So this is a picture of real whale poop, and they always have to poop at the surface because of the pressure. When you dive deeper underwater, the pressure gets compounded on you, and so they can't poop then. They're just not physically capable of doing it. And so when they come to the surface, that's when they poop. So this poop then feeds all those phytoplankton. They're pooping at the surface, the phytoplankton live there, they mix together, and just like we use manure on land to fertilize our plants, same thing for these plants of the ocean, they get fertilized by poop from whales. So if you think about it, when a whale poops, it fertilizes the phytoplankton, and those phytoplankton then give you oxygen oxygen to breathe. So we call this the green whale, and this is just a different graphic that explains all of that. But you see the phytoplankton at the top, they're taking in the sunlight and carbon dioxide, they're releasing oxygen. They're believed to release almost about half of the world's oxygen. So that means that every other breath we take comes from the plants of the ocean. So they're really important to us, and we need whales to keep bringing them nutrients. They can't get them any other way. So if we go back to our original, it says that whale poop gives you oxygen to breathe. And while it's a little bit long of a process, we're going to call this one confirmed. Now, if you want to learn more about this, you can visit our website. We have a whole bunch of information. You can also talk to us in the comments, send us a message. We'll talk to you about whale poop all day long. All right, this one is our last one, and it's one of my favorites. This one says a blue whale is 3 times as long as a T-Rex dinosaur. So what do you guys think on this one? Do you guys think that it's true? Do you think it's false? Do you think it's confirmed? Do you think it's busted? What do you guys think? So we see some love for some whale poop. It's definitely a fun topic to talk about. An interesting story about that is I was a whale expert on a cruise ship a couple years ago, and I had an elderly gentleman who told me that when he was in the Navy, that they were called whale poop as an insult to them. And so when I gave this whole presentation talking about how awesome whale poop is, he said it was funny because they said basically that they were the scum of the earth, that they were even lower than whale poop. And so he thought it was so funny that that whale poop ended up being such a good thing that the insult they had actually didn't work. Okay, so some people say confirm, some people say in the middle, some say true. So let's investigate. So the first thing is that I have no idea how big T-Rexes are. So I found people who did. So the American Museum of Natural History says that based on fossil specimens, scientists have determined that a Tyrannosaurus rex could be up to 40 feet long and 12 feet high. So that means that it's 12 feet from its feet up to its head, but it's 40 feet from its tail all the way to the front of its mouth. I had no idea. Now we all know. So now we have our blue whale here. Now they said it can be up to 40 feet long. So that's kind of the maximum. So we're just going to use the maximum for the blue whale as well. So if you look at WDC's website, you can go on our species guide and learn all about all the different species of whales and dolphins. But if you go to the blue whale thing, they can get to be up to about 100 feet. Most of them aren't quite that big, but again, we're going to use the maximums. So if we have 3 T-Rexes here, and they're each 40 feet long, we just multiply that by 3 and find that they would be about 120 feet. So in fact, this was a trick question. And so we can see that is a blue whale 3 times as long as T-Rex dinosaur? Busted. But they are twice as long. So we always think of T-Rexes as being these huge animals that were really ferocious, but blue whales are more than twice as long as a T-Rex dinosaur. Now we do have one more myth, and it's that you guys are awesome for playing along with Mythbusters Whale Edition. So I'd love to see what you guys think about this one. But this one, I don't need any evidence. We don't need to investigate because I can already tell you guys this one is confirmed. You guys are awesome for playing along today. Really hope you guys learned some stuff. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. We're going to answer some of them right now. If you have any ideas for another round of Mythbusters we could do, it seems like we're going to be doing some stuff from home for quite some time here. So if you guys have more things that you want to know the answers to, we're more than happy to. There's also our website. It's whales.org. It's super easy, and there's so much information on there. We have a species guide that goes through each and every species of whale and dolphin. You can learn all about them. We do on our homepage, you'll find a link to go to our education resources page. We have a whole bunch of different activities and puzzles and different things that can help you learn. We also give a shout out section to all of our other colleagues that are doing awesome things online as well. You'll be able to find out more about our live streams. We also are going to have another one on Thursday. So on Thursday, you'll be with Sabrina, and Sabrina will be reading a story for you guys. So you can tune into that. It'll be the same time as today, just on Thursday instead. We're We're gonna have 2 more next week, and then June is gonna be a really special month for us. We have some cool things coming up. We have World Oceans Day is in the beginning of June, and that's gonna kick off our week of live streams, or every other day of live streams for our whale festival. We usually do a whale festival in June, and because we can't have that in person, we're gonna make it virtual, so you guys can check that out. More information is gonna be coming out in the next coming weeks. And we also are gonna have, all of June is Orca Action Month. This is usually a bunch of activities that happen in the Pacific Northwest, but again, since they can't happen, we're gonna make it all virtual and able for all of you guys to join. We're gonna have 30 actions you can take to help orcas, and you can do them throughout the month of June, and you can always do them after that. So keep your eye on our Facebook, our social media, our website. Feel free to contact us. We love to hear from you guys. And it looks like Sabrina's on top of it. She has some of our links in all of our comments here. And so thank you guys so much for playing today. We really enjoyed it. If you guys have any other things you want to hear from us on live streams, we'd love to hear them. We have plenty of ideas, but we want to hear what you guys want. So thank you guys for joining, and I'll talk to you guys soon.